you plan to put down a £30,000 deposit. Lucky you. And that means you need a £70,000 loan or mortgage. All right. Now, how do I know you've put down a £30,000 deposit? Well, maybe you can't afford a £30,000 deposit. The deposit is down to what you can manage to scrimp and save together, okay, persuade parents or friends to give you, whatever it happens to be. So you've got a deposit from somewhere, all right, and the rest is the mortgage. So a combination of what's called equity, that's your bit, and a loan from the bank secured on the property makes up the funding for the £100,000 property. All right. Now, here the LTV, as you'll sometimes see it quoted in the press, a bit of jargon there, the loan to value ratio is simply that compared to that as a percentage. All right. So here the LTV, 70,000 as a proportion of the value of the property, literally the loan to value ratio is 70%. All right. And in simple terms, basically the higher that is, the harder it is to get the loan. All right. Now, back in the ridiculous days, pre-financial crisis, there were banks around that would say, no problem, you could have LTVs of more than 100%, 125%. You could actually borrow more than the value of the property from a bank. And they'd even give you hints and tips as to what to do with the extra. All right. So on a £100,000 property, this may sound a little mad, but it was happening. You could borrow £125,000. And I'm not kidding. There were banks' websites saying things like, well, book yourself a holiday, buy a car with the extra. Now that is madness and got a lot of people into big trouble, which is why LTVs tend to be a lot lower now, okay? Because of something called negative equity, which is the third bit of jargon I'll cover just now. But here's my takeaway. Okay, the higher the loan to value ratio, naturally, the higher the interest rate and the harder the mortgage will be to come across. So if you can scrimp together as much of a deposit as you can get hold of, bring down the loan to value ratio, you'll tend to find that better deals then become available. Why are we no longer seeing loans in excess of 100% of the value of the property? Well, unfortunately, if you allow someone to borrow a huge amount of money and the value of the property then drops. So imagine, for example, if I take out the deposit altogether, all right, and I make the loan 100%, all right, so imagine that the whole thing, still following my scribblings here, is funded by a mortgage. The danger is this: if the value of the property then drops, which it could do, to 90,000, you are now in something called negative